In the fast-paced world of racing, women have steadily been making their mark and breaking barriers. The Ladies of the Oval program, run by Randy Butler and Sam Shaw, is a platform that aims to showcase the achievements and empower women in this thrilling sport. Partnering with the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, this remarkable collaboration brings to you the stories of successful female racers who have defied the odds and left a lasting impact on the racing community, or just getting started. At the heart of the program is a commitment to empower women and provide them with equal opportunities in racing. Through their initiatives, Randy and Sam strive to create a supportive and inclusive environment for all women racers. By shedding light on their accomplishments and celebrating their achievements, the program aims to inspire future generations of women to pursue their dreams in the racing industry. We are making significant strides in showcasing the accomplishments of women in racing. From Marley Owen to Amanda Balson to Jessica Power and Chantal Kalika, these remarkable women are leaving their mark and paving the way for future generations. Through our collective efforts, the program will promote empowerment, inclusivity, and equality, ensuring that the world of racing becomes a place where women can thrive and make history. Support Ladies of the Oval on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook, just by searching Ladies of the Oval. Also consider donating to their cause and providing sponsorship for women in 2024. Stickers and Scuffs has made our donation, and you can too. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast as we continue our Ladies of the Oval month. Last week, Caitlin O'Blennis on the show. Great episode that was. And now we welcome in our brand new guest. That's kind of, she's got a lot of different hats that she wears because she's driven a couple different things. It's McKenna Robson joining us tonight. McKenna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Well, let's get started with your racing story because I have seen a couple different things that you've raced, but I'm not sure of all the history. So I know the mini trucks, racing out at Full Throttle, and I think you race occasionally at Grand Bend, maybe, yes?
Yep. Yeah, that's where I started out.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we'll learn a little bit more about that. And then, of course, Great Lakes Legend series, running the number 25. So we've got to get into that number as well. I'd love to hear kind of the history behind that because, one of the things we've gotten away from a little bit is people's numbers and why they choose them. So it's not as nice. It's not as nice as the 29 of Harvick that somebody else runs, but we will say that it's great to have you back to be on the show. For our second episode for Ladies of the Oval month. You're in the calendar, or you was part of the drawing for the calendar. So how was that experience for you, being a part of just having the opportunity, I guess, with Ladies of the Oval?
So I was in the calendar in 2021. I thought that was very neat. I had heard about it the year before, but I missed the deadline to apply. I found out about it because my friend Haley McNichol was on the calendar in the first year they did it. And so then I was on my Facebook and I was like, oh, shoot, that's so cool. I wish I could have done it. So I did it the next year. And it's definitely picked up over the years. This year, I unfortunately didn't get in it. I tried, but there was so many people who applied. I think there was like 25-ish this year. And the year I applied, there was only like 15, I think. So it's definitely grown. So yeah, this is very cool.
It's great, and then they've got this deal out now that some winners can get a sponsorship from Ladies of the Oval, and we obviously on SNS Live we made some big announcements that we had even more contributions, and Randy Butler was saying that this is the most successful season they've ever had for Ladies of the Oval. So we're on the right trajectory here. But how did things get started for you, McKenna? Because I talked about this with Caitlin O'Blennis last week. Racing as a whole in Canada isn't normally what people gravitate to, and it's
Mhm.
also not normally what women gravitate to. So, how did this all come to you?
So it started when I was very, very young. My dad grew up at the Grand Bend Motorplex. His dad was a racer, so that's how he got into it. And then my dad, he wanted boys. We always joke about that. So when I was born, I was 2 years old when he got me my first four-wheeler. He put it in the house for Christmas. It was a little 50 cc pink little thing. And then I think it took my mom 2 years of convincing for me to drive that thing. And then when I was 6, I started racing four-wheelers. And then that's kind of where it picked up. I raced four-wheelers for probably 4 or 5 years. And then I took a year off and I went to this birthday party, and my friend's brother had a dirt sprint car. And I thought they were so neat. So I went home and I told my dad that I wanted something like this, and he was right on with that. So then we went looking, and racing dirt didn't work out for me because just the night that it fell on. So that's how I ended up at Grand Bend. So I could still race a different type of sprint car, but similar enough that I was still into it. And then I did that for 2 years. So I think that would be 2017 and 2018 that I did the junior sprints. And then I switched to the junior mini trucks, the 2020-ish season. And I did that for 2 years. And then I did the pro trucks for 3. And then last year was my first year in the Great Lakes Legends, but I also did my last season in the pro trucks last year.
Holy moly.
That's my racing.
Yeah. Busy. So you've had kind of a progressive path with like horsepower, power to weight, and that sort of thing. What was it like stepping into one of those legends? I've been in a legend car one time on the dirt at Humberstone, and that was pretty squirrely. I had no idea what I was doing with that kind of power at the time. So what's it like stepping into that kind of power to weight?
Oh, they're wicked. They're so fun though. They're a handful, but it's like the more you do it, the more addicted you get to it, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, yes.
Yeah, he's getting a sense of that right now. I always like hearing that. We've gotten actually a lot more familiar with these classes, and what's really good about having you on is that you've got experience with all these classes that maybe we're still learning a lot about. So you said you started at Grand Bend, and so I think what we've talked about on the show previously is not a ton of people get I guess Grand Bend doesn't get a ton of appreciation. I think it gets kind of forgotten in a lot of the conversations, maybe because they don't have as many classes and the track is very, very small. But what would you say?
Underrated little jewel.
An underrated little jewel. Yeah, exactly. And what would you say that is the trick to getting around there? Because obviously it was your start, so you've got to have some sort of familiarity with how it goes over there.
Do you mean like the trick to going around the track? What do you mean?
Yeah. How is the best way? How is the best way that you can go fast and kick everybody's tail?
It really depends on the class, to be honest. Because each car is a little bit different. Just in like how easily the cars turn and what their preferences are, etc. So in the junior sprints, they like to drive closer to the middle to the bottom of the track, kind of still arcing it in the corners and stuff. But the trucks, they really like to be up at the top end of the track and then dive down really sharp. And then the legends, honestly, I only did one race there, and it was at the beginning of my career, so I might not be the best person for that question. But it still was really fun in those cars, trying to get around the corners and stuff. So, they're a lot of fun.
It seems like Grand Bend is like perfect for these smaller classes of cars. Like it really is, and I again, getting around a track like that, it seems to have a good amount of space and but the adjustment period, going from a sprint to the mini truck now to the legend, what was that experience has got to be so different from running something that's a lot slower to like the legend, where it is very, very different.
Each class had its own like differences. So
Yeah.
the sprints, the sprints and the trucks were all momentum racing. So it was easier to transition between those two.
Okay.
But the trucks, the juniors and the pros, the juniors, you have a restrictor plate to kind of slow your speed. So the difference between them was basically just going faster and a slightly different line, because it was a very different speed difference between the two. But still easy enough. But the biggest leap was definitely the trucks to the legend cars. Because well, I never drove anything manual before this, and it's not even real manual, but it still was a learning curve trying to do that. And then also because the other ones were momentum racing, going from that to having to get on the gas and brake and learning how to do that and when to do it, and just all of that fun stuff was definitely a learning curve, and definitely one that I'm still riding on, if that makes sense.
That's the thing I found about, is yours a 5 or a 6-speed shift, sequential shift?
I think it's only 4, actually.
Oh, it's a 4. Right. Okay. Well, either way, that whole sequential shift thing, like that was something that I had never done before either. And I found like that's part of the fun of driving those cars too. But the clutch, it's like an on-off switch. It's so finicky, right?
No, exactly. It's a lot.
So again, we're one of the things that we're starting to get really into these legends, and obviously the legend cars are really well known across racing, and
North America wide, for sure.
North America wide, yeah, exactly. So you go from Grand Bend, where you start your career, but you were only racing at the one track, correct? So now all of a sudden you're going to a place where you to a series where you're going to be going to different tracks. How does the adjustment period, like, how does that work? Because now all of a sudden you're not going to the same place every week, and you're
going on tour,
right? So you don't have the experience. So are you leaning on other people, or just kind of figuring it out as you go along?
A little bit of both. I definitely ask around for bits of advice and stuff before I go out, but advice only gets you so far. A lot of it is kind of figuring it out on your own when you're out there. Like, you keep it in mind, but sometimes you just kind of have to do what feels right in the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely like traveling. I will say that. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's fun being in new environments all the time and constantly learning new things, and you meet more people and you race against different drivers, and it's just a lot more fun, I think.
Being a part of the Great Lakes Legends Series, I mean, what to your point just now, like you're learning from a really kind of tight knit group of people there. It's a great learning environment, I would imagine, when you're there on a week in, week out basis.
No, they're so nice, and they're so much fun to hang out with. Whether it's before the races, during the races, after the races, they're just a great group of people. So I'm definitely glad that I met them.
Well, and obviously the legends, there's a difference between, I would expect, the competition level as well, where you, when you're in mini trucks and junior sprints, how big were the fields with those?
It depended on the year. Sprints, I would say max was about 10 cars, roughly. They had a split, though, between A's and B's, so older kids and younger kids. So roughly 10 people in my class. And then the junior trucks, that was a entirely new division at the time. So I don't even know if they still have it anymore, but there was really only 6 to 8 of us out there at a time. The pro trucks, the largest group I think I've ever been at was about 15. And then and then in the legends, it's definitely a bigger crowd. I think we had like almost 30 at one point.
Yeah,
maybe
Sauble
25,
last year.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's something. So, from the driving standpoint and developing racecraft, that's really learning on the fly there too. When you're in traffic a whole bunch, right? And it's one thing where you do have to worry about what you're doing, worry about your own race, but then you've got, like I say, traffic around you pretty well constantly. So that's got to be as trial by fire. What's it like adapting to that?
It's interesting, to be honest.
You just got to do it, right? I mean, it's hard to just talk about it, I guess, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. It can be a little intimidating because like I only have 3 races behind the car for context. So everyone is just so quick, and you feel fast when you're in it, but then they start lapping you and you're like, dang, how are you not dying right now? And it's just like when you're driving down the road and you hear motorcycles go by and they're like, shoo, shoo, shoo. That's what it feels like. And you're trying to stay low and you're trying to make the corner, and they don't like to go around the bottom. So you're like up on the wheel trying to go, and everyone's like gone. And it's so intense, but it's fun. And then everyone goes and you're like trying your best to see how long you can keep with them. And it's just fun.
I love hearing this, that it's, it's fun. And that's the key of racing, I think. And there are all those days where things don't go well. I mean, we've seen, we were told actually to head back into your days in mini trucks racing out at full throttle. When you may have had a pretty big, well, it looked like it cleaned your
clock spectacular. Good, right? I mean, it had some flash.
And you did it. You did very well, basically. I guess I'd say if you were going to wreck, you did you did a good job making a big wreck like that, because that must have been fun. It looked like it hurt first off.
Oh, it did.
And then you had fire too, which I was like, well, you knocked those two out in one go. What do you remember about that whole situation? I believe it was you, and was it Dell underneath you, or
it was Ben?
No,
it was Ben. It's Dell's dad. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you remember from that? Because it was bad wreck at Varney is what we're talking about.
It was. Yeah. It was intense. I was starting outside pole. Ben was inside pole, and it was only lap 1, but behind us were our leader in points and the runner up in points. So they had a mission. So it was a little bit intense. So we were going around, and on the backstretch, there was a lot of movement going on, and I got a bump, and I was going into the corner, and we don't have mirrors on those sides. So going into the corner, if no one's there, you assume that they're merging in behind you. So I moved down, and next thing you know, I got a hit from the back. And under normal circumstances, you would just spin out and hit the wall backwards. It happens almost every time you get hit like that at that track. So I didn't think too much of it when I was going backwards. And I got a turbo boost. If you watch the video in slow motion, there was another hit going around the corner. And so I got completely plummeted into that corner. And then I like to close my eyes for impact to prepare myself. So my eyes were closed. I hit the wall. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I can't wait to complain about this later. And I opened my eyes, and it was just all orange all around me.
Wow.
So it was like surrounding like the cab or whatever, right? So then I was like, you know that TikTok sound that's like, what's the procedure? What's the procedure? I'm like running around in there, pulling my belts up. I like hit my head with the wheel, trying to get it off so fast. And then I got out, and there's another video. I think it was sent to you of me falling out. Because it's not very easy to get out of, because you have to get out of the roof, right? And I have shorter legs, so I have to kind of step on the seat, step on the window, step on the ground, and like kind of hop out that way. And
on an angle, right? Because you're up on the banking too, right? Oh, man.
Exactly. But yeah, so I couldn't step there because it was covered in fire. So that's why I fell out of it, because I couldn't step there. So I fell down and then ran away, basically. But yeah, it was not good.
Did you feel any effects from it?
Not right away. There was a lot of adrenaline. Those things, I don't think anyone had really ever seen one of them go up in flames before. So when I opened my eyes, that was like the last thing I was expecting, because, people are told these sprints in the trucks, they're like the safest things you can put your kids into to race, right? No one's ever really seen a bad wreck like that. So it was a really big shock to see one go up like that. But the way that I hit the wall, it completely
you hit it square too. Yeah, you hit it so like square like that. but when you, so again, because I've not been in it, thank God, I've not been in an accident, but when you hit like the rear like that, they always talk about like NASCAR, the rear hits like that are always the worst. You obviously felt the massive hit. Did you get any pain, any soreness afterwards?
Yeah, it started coming in once I got off the track. I actually went to the hospital that night because I wasn't too sure what the effects were going to be. So I wanted them to take a look, but they couldn't find anything. So I got very lucky that way. I didn't break anything, didn't get a concussion, nothing.
Yeah.
The body did its job. My safety gear did its job. Always wear your seatbelts. They tell you that at Varney now all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the next morning I couldn't even move. I was like bed bound for a whole day. And then every day after that, it got a little better, but I was walking pretty limped for a few days.
Damn.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
bad.
we watched it just before as well. I saw it a couple times last night. I was watching it. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And that's the thing is like people, you don't think you're like, it doesn't, I guess they don't look like they're going that fast. And then when you hit, it certainly looks like you guys were going fast, but you've obviously rebounded from that. And what was it like going back to the track following it? Because I think that we've young racers, and really any racer needs to know kind of that it's not always the easiest thing to get over a situation like that, especially if there was an injury. In this case, you were lucky and you didn't have one, but were there any, I guess, was there any fear or anxiety about getting back in the car following it?
Personally, yes. I know some people say the opposite. I kind of look at it as some people are born with the fear gene and some people aren't. Some people have to ignore the fear gene. Yeah. So getting back in, it was a little bit tricky. For the mini trucks more so last year, I definitely had more anxiety in them than I did with the Legends, which you would think it'd be the other way around because usually the Legend cars are a little bit more intimidating crashes. Yeah. But I think it's just because it's a different vehicle. It just feels like a new experience, if that makes sense. But by the end of the season, I definitely got over it a lot more than at the beginning. But I don't know. They're still fun. They're still safe. I've never seen anyone else get in a crash like that. So maybe
you hold the honor.
Yeah, I mean, very often throughout the history of racing, that's why the rule books and safety enhancements happen, is that the equipment, track safety measures, personal safety equipment all get tested every which way until the exception to the rule happens. And that just happened to be the case there. I mean, those things are, as you said, statistically fairly safe thing to put your kids in to get their feet wet in racing. And they don't generally happen to go into a fireball like that. But I mean,
no, exactly.
As a driver, I mean, that's one of the worst fears is fire for sure. And the anxiety, and like how you said, it's real. I mean, when you're kind of getting back into the same thing, same vehicle and that sort of thing. So it takes guts to talk about it too. I mean, because that could be potentially a kind of a traumatizing thing. So having people, like when you got off the track, a support group is pretty key, right?
For sure. I definitely had a lot of people come and talk to me that night. There's still a lot of people that I still chat with at the track because of that night. There's a lot of people that like say our firefighters on the side that were coming up and helping alongside the people who were actually checking me out and stuff. And there is people who saw it and were very concerned and then would come up and talk to me. And I made sure that night that I came back from the hospital to the track so that I could tell everyone that I was okay.
So nice. There you go. Yeah, I like that. That's
classy.
That's a good
and it's, as you said, like that's something that, I mean, people will go home kind of with a little bit more peace of mind too, because that's, as we were saying, you have the bumps or maybe like maybe a burn mark or whatever, but sometimes like we all know this, the mental fallout from stuff like that can be really, really terrible. But on a good note, we're talking about dusting off questions that we haven't used in a while. So if there's like some big legends race and they're doing driver intros, what's your walkout song? They're introducing your name, McKenna Robson, and you walk out. What's banging on the speakers?
No pressure.
I don't know. I never
That was the
thought
hardest
of that,
question.
to be honest. But
Well, you're
I'm
gonna have to.
Swiftie. I'm a bit of a Swiftie, so I might say "Are You Ready for It" by Taylor
There
Swift.
we go.
Right on.
There you go. And it's always somebody's got to have something, right?
Yeah.
You can't go out there with nothing. And we talked about it before. I'd love to know the importance behind 25 for you.
It's a little bit of a funny story. I started racing when I was 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, before when I was signing up for my first year, he was like, "What do you want your first number to be, McKenna?" And I was like thinking, and I was like, you know what? I really like gumball machines. You put quarters into the gumball machines.
Nice. Oh my God, that's so good.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
a
How
great
about
origin story.
Bubba? Get on here. We need somebody to partner with McKenna Robson. 5 gum. Somebody, like, come on.
Oh,
This
that's
is
so
the
cool.
way to go about it. I love that. That's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And unique. You know, McKenna,
Totally.
we have this opportunity to do a month dedicated to women in racing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're extremely privileged to partner with the ladies of the Oval, but you know, there's a lot of young racers coming in. And what do you want to say to the young girls out there that might be looking at racing? What would you say to them? Because there's definitely a good representation of women in motorsports, but we definitely still need to get there. And what would you want to say?
I guess I would tell them to keep holding on to their dreams, because if you can't make them happen today, there's always tomorrow. Just because you don't have the resources right now, whatever it may be, you can always get into it when you're older too, right? Like if, say, you don't have a family that's into racing, but you really love it, keep watching the NASCAR, keep going to the racetrack, keep making new friends. And then hopefully when you're older, you will have the resources, and then you can go make history or whatever, right? That's always the goal.
That's a good one. I like that. Damn.
So true.
And you know what? We always like to give an opportunity for you. And hopefully, if you've seen the show before, this is an opportunity to shout out people that you want to thank, your partners, and anybody that helps you to get to the racetrack each and every week. So this is your time.
Well, I'd like to thank my dad, first of all. He's been there since day one. I'd like to thank my mom for supporting me since day one. Also, Kenny McNichol deserves a big shout out. He's done a lot of work over the years, starting back in the sprints, helping me out. As well as Austin Arnell. He's done a lot of work helping me with the Legend cars. K&K Towing sponsors me, so they're a big help as well. As well as Robson Scrap Metals, they sponsor me too. And I guess the Great Lakes series as well. They, like I said earlier, they're so great. Such good people to be around, so helpful. They always answer questions, and they're willing to lend an extra hand. So good. I can't think of anyone at the moment other than that, but if I didn't mention you, just know you're very, very appreciated.
And is there any social media that people can follow you at to follow your racing story?
I don't really have a racing page going, to be honest, but on Instagram and Facebook, it's just McKenna Robson. But there's a little more than racing on there too. So if you're looking for a full circle, I guess follow me there.
Tie it all right into the racetrack. There we go. Perfect. Oh man. Well, this
Real
is
people, real racing.
Real racing right there. We're so excited that you were on the show, and we're very this was a great episode. Really, really great.
Thank you.
And lots of good stuff on there. So make sure you guys check out McKenna Robson. Plans for 2024? Are you heading back out to do some more legend racing?
I am, yes. I'm very excited because it'll be a full season for me with them. And I'll be able to go to a lot more tracks. I haven't been to as many as I'd like yet, so I'm definitely excited to experiment with those.
Well, definitely make sure you get
key.
out there. Get out there, support ladies of the Oval, but make sure you go out and watch McKenna Robson out on the track this year. McKenna, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.